Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Tonight I'm continuing to paint this big old robot painting. So let's get right to it. Okay. Hey, from Chicago, what's up? Oh yeah, you saw my sister-in-law's choreography. Yeah, it's cool. She's done a bunch of stuff, so you know, trying to support. That cool stuff. Doing that Daniel Radcliffe stuff she was doing. Yeah, she choreographed his show. What's this for? For nothing. It's just for me to do. I'm just trying to get this painting done. Hopefully I can get it pretty close tonight. I don't have a ton of stuff left to do for it. I just need to paint these rockets up, but that's fairly straightforward. You get tired of spending much time in the same painting when it's personal like this one. I haven't seen Nosferatu yet, Manser. I mean, I haven't spent a ton of time on this, so not really. I've mostly been just working on client jobs and that sort of thing. So I'm really only working on this when I come back to this stream at this point. But it's all positive. I got a ton of stuff going on, which I'm feeling fairly happy with. But I am into really just like the idea of like building out this style and getting things figured out with my paintings digitally and like that's really like what this is. So I don't really think about it like a per painting thing. It's more just, you know, a vehicle to learn. And I like the initial idea of these one-off paintings like this, But then it's kind of just like a sprint to the finish line and using the things that I feel I've learned recently that I can apply to it. And that's more or less what these become for me. So I don't get like bored of them. I just kind of I'm not like super excited about it either. I'm just trying to work it up and feel good about it. They're so time intensive, you know? You can't, like, part of it is really just pushing through to the end. But there's like bits and pieces throughout where you're like, ooh, that was cool. Figure something out there. What's my favorite painting, like in general, like of other people? Or are you asking me that like in reference to what we were just talking about? Because I don't really care about my own stuff. I don't have like a favorite of my own. But I was like a big Ilya Repin fan forever. So a lot of his paintings are ones that resonate with me. As far as like the technical skill goes, I'm not the kind of person that's like so into art that like I get my breath taken away by like beauty and that sort of thing. Not to say that like I don't get it, but I just am not that person. So I don't really, honestly, I don't really look at a ton of artwork. I kind of just, when I am looking at it, I'm like looking at it for like the technical aspects. I mean, like, you can look at like what I'm doing right now. Like this is just like content, you know, it's just something like silly that I'm doing for fun. Like I'm not like married to this as this like amazing, beautiful, meaningful thing. It's just something funny that I was working on. Like this is really like who I am, is like this type of stuff. How's Mr. Dan doing? What's he been working on? We've been doing some stuff together, just writing and things. And then he has his client projects that he does too. But yeah, we've been working together on a couple things. Sorry, I'm trying to get these colors right. Looking at this, I'm not looking at the chat right now. Did I ever mess with the pressure settings in Procreate? I messed with a bunch of stuff, but yeah, it was all pretty much a pain. I don't know. I just never clicked for me. It's definitely something where I could be really wrong in terms of my like setup, but I would honestly, like, I've said it before, but I would need to just play with somebody who has a setup that's like, you know, somebody who already has a tablet, like, or iPad. Just like bring it over, let me like play with it for a little while and see if it was me or if I just genuinely don't like it. Because if somebody else has like a setup that they're like, no, this is perfect, like look at the stuff I'm making with it, and I can't do that, or like I don't click with it or whatever, then, you know, it's probably just not, there's probably just some disconnect for me. Like, not that I couldn't ever get there, but I would need to like dedicate time to figure it out and get comfortable. Or it could just be the case that I was using it in a dumb way, which is entirely possible. But with the way I'm working, like I just don't have a desire to use it. Trying to make a comic, but I'm hesitant about if it will have an audience. What are some places to post a final comic? It's a good question. I mean, I posted up my like Veil comic that I had done, and it just kind of went nowhere, which is, it's fine. You know, there's nothing I can really do about that. I'll, you know, it'll do better when I actually like put it with stuff and release it as like a full book. But in terms of like getting an audience for something, I'm sure there's like a number of comic reader sites that are relevant. I know people were using like Webtoon back in the day. I don't know what's relevant right now. But for me, I kind of just been trying to look for like other people to put stuff out, you know. If I can't find like funding or anything, or I can't make like a Patreon around something, then I'm tending to like look for people to kind of like finance the whole thing, if possible, without taking control away from me. It's a difficult process, but otherwise it's so hard to make comics. Like, speaking of which, Akira Yoshida is making that Garfield comic, Miss Lasagna, the parody. And that book, you know, that book is being financed by the Matt and Shane's Secret podcast. And that, you know, from what I understand, that book has total control, so that's pretty ideal. But then you're not in front of necessarily the exact right audience that you would want to be in front of, which is fine. You know, that's normal. You know, you're not going to be everything to everybody. So even then, it's like, it's still a matter of being around people that genuinely are like super into what you're doing, which is, you know, if the real thing that you can count on when you're like, I don't know how to find an audience, is that you like it. You know, if you really like what you're doing, then there will be an audience, because there already is one. There's an audience of one person. That's you. You know that you like it. And you're not the only person in the universe like you, so somebody else will be as into it as you are. It's just gonna take time. And there's so many different like options out there in terms of how to get books out. It's just a matter of choosing the right one if you ever are at that place. But for starting something, I would just start it and post it up wherever you can post it. Yeah, I agree. Riley. Yeah, the end guy. I agree with both of you. But as far as that stuff goes, yeah, it's all up in the air. You just trust your gut, and you got to put things out and then hope that it finds an audience if you're prolific enough and you do enough work. Consistency is key. It's like putting something out and then having it be a thing that people can trust is going to come out the same time every week. Then people kind of stick with stuff and whatever. But it's all difficult to do. And comics are such an intense industry to get into. It's so much work. Especially when you're like writing the whole thing and drawing the whole thing and lettering and everything else. It's such a big undertaking. What's really funny about comics is how much work you put into pages, and it'll be like more work than you've put into any kind of illustration, like more than I will put into something like this. But it won't do super well if you share it online, because like just the artwork, like if you share it online, because I don't know what it is about the look or something, like it just doesn't resonate the same in a lot of ways. I don't even really know how to put that. It's just this strange thing I noticed, like whenever I would release stuff from like my Destiny comics and things back in the day, I'd be like, oh, this is odd. Like normally my stuff would like perform so much better, and I'd be thinking like every page of this is like, you know, pretty intensely drawn and detailed out and all that. I'd be like, how come it's not doing well? But I noticed that about comics. But if you have a comic that's, you know, not just like pretty artwork, but solid narrative or whatever, then it'll work. And it almost doesn't really matter so much what the art looks like, unless it's part of the joke. What does your average comic book artist earn today? Seems like it would be almost impossible to earn a living at it. Not if you do it yourself. You can figure it out. I don't know what the average is, though. Nicholas DeLuca. Any consolation? I've read the comic and really enjoyed it. Oh, I love comics. I mean, I don't have like a. I'm not like married to like the Destiny lore story. If you're talking about that, I'm not like crazy about that stuff myself. But I appreciate that. Like if I'm gonna do comics, I just want to do like my own stuff. It's so much work, you know. It's like I just want it to be things that I'm passionate about if I'm going to invest that much time into a project like that. Yeah, that's true, guy. You kind of have to have your. I mean, you know, I used to say this way more just because everybody would ask about it, but like about the fan art shit. It's like, yeah, you do fan art as like a. Unfortunately, like it's less now because fan art is everywhere, but the idea was just that this is just like a pill you swallow. You do this stuff, and hopefully you like it, you know, but you're doing this because it brings people to your original work. And like you were talking about, like you don't really get eyes on your shit unless you have like cute and funny meme style artwork, right? Things that can be memed. It's like, that's true, But maybe that's part of it. It's like, okay, you know, getting your foot in the door, that might be something that would be beneficial. It's like if that's in your wheelhouse, it's like to try that out and be like, I think I could do that. I could do like my version of that. Not to say like you have to do everything everybody else is doing, but if you can get people in the door with something and then be like, okay, you're here because of this thing, but now watch this, you know, that's very helpful. And I try to do that a lot. Like when I was talking to Akira Yoshida about his Miss Lasagna project, he was saying that the whole idea about it is people get locked into the story because it's so stupid at first. But then what ends up happening, if people stick around, is it turns into an insane narrative that turns into its own thing, and it's not just a joke about Miss Lasagna getting pimped out. But anyway, I think like with your work, just like a story, you need a hook. You need a hook to bring people in. You wish the artist for Miss Lasagna had a stronger reach online because nobody sees their work. I know, right? Well, they have a huge audience now. That Matt and Shane Secret Podcast is the biggest Patreon in the world. It's pretty insane. I should repaint some old school Nintendo Power covers. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm basically doing. Let me see. Whenever I send a message to an art director, is it better to write a short introduction or just send the link right away? I would say like a relatively short introduction is appropriate. It'd be weird if I just got an email that was just totally impersonal, silent. Just, it's like you just basically want to communicate what your goal is. Like, this would be a dream to be able to work for you, whatever, and just be like, here's my work. I hope that I hope I'm a good fit. If not, could you please let me know what I could work on or what you'd like to see. I just need to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of these jets. I'll just do this, and then when I take it over into Photoshop, I can paint out some of these textures a little bit. Give it a little bit more depth and shape. Okay. Yeah, Gabriel saying like I just thought they received so many of these they wouldn't care about the text. Just don't lower yourself like that. Like, I understand what you mean, but you gotta have higher self-esteem than that, you know? Like, I get the impulse to be like, well, nobody really cares about this stuff or whatever. Like, they get them all the time. You have to think of yourself like you're somebody that matters. Like, project that and they'll get that vibe that like, oh, okay, you care. Like, oh, you're different, whatever. Like, first impressions are big. It's not just like, are you just your artwork, or are you a person that people talk to and get to know? You know what I mean? Like, I would say like a lot of what I do is like, sure, it has to do with the quality of the work and having like that back and forth with a client and delivering on things and building a reputation over time. But it's also the human relationship. It's not this robotic thing, you know. Like, I still talk to these people. I still have like a real interaction. So thinking that like you don't matter, you're basically like making yourself, by saying that they get so many of these, I'm not even going to put a little bit of myself into this email. You're basically saying like, please make me a cog in the machine. I am just a worker, and that's all I am. I'm like, all right, so hello. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't undermine yourself. You gotta believe that you're more than that, or nobody else will. Do you have to do something memey and cute or comedic like Wigglewood to get noticed, or can you do stuff like you to do? You can do stuff like I'm doing on a consistent basis, whatever. It just has to be you. Like, I'm not saying that you have to do all of these things. I'm saying that, like, if it's in you and you feel like you can, then there's a good chance that that would help you. But you don't have to do that. There's tons of artists who don't do that. And there's tons of artists who are successful who don't have a presence with like regular continual posts online, who just are working in major studios and things, or creators who just make stuff and you know, and when things are ready, they put them out, and then they have a big release, and it's this, you know, nice finished book or whatever. Like that still exists. I'm not saying you have to do any of those things. I'm just saying if you feel like you can, you know, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to like diversify early on, because it's that thing of like, it's getting you a little closer to a goal, right? Like that's a little closer. Like when you are close to the goal though, maybe that doesn't make any sense to do that. Maybe then you got to pivot to being like, okay, now I am somebody, and now I can deviate from this and lean into more of like what I just know I want to do regularly. Like, but I think there's something to be said for, you know, showing that if it is in you and you do like it, I'm not saying force yourself to do shit you hate, but to diversify and try things so that not only are you like relevant in a lot of different ways, but you're also putting something out that shows that you have the capability to do a variety of things when it comes to work. That's helped me like tremendously to be like, here's like a bunch of different styles. Like I can kind of do a lot of different things, because I'm not a person that's like one thing only. I like doing a lot of different stuff. So I don't want to be pigeonholed as just this one singular type of artist. That's why I get into like comics and things. Like there's a lot of stuff I'd like to do that's not exactly the same concept art illustration work that I'm known for. And now I'm known for doing comics too, and writing and all that. So it's nice. It's nice to have that variety, to not be locked into just this one singular idea of who I am as a person, because that's just not me. I'm not just this dude who does one thing. What do I do to be consistent and creative? What to do in case of creative block? For me, I kind of push through it, and if it's something that's like sitting with me, like a lot of times if I feel like I'm stuck and I just feel like a creative block, personally, like just, you know, this might just be me, but I would say one thing it often is this big issue I'm not dealing with in my work or in my career, in my life. It's like there's some big thing in the way that's holding me back, and I have to address that. I have to deal with that thing, because that's the shit that's making it so like I can't do all the other things, or I can't focus, because I know that there's this big glaring thing I should be doing and I'm not doing it. So addressing that's always helpful. Sorry, I gotta change. I'm listening to something that you can't hear because I don't want to get my stuff banned. It's no secret. I'm listening to Fetty Wap. That's what's actually happening on my end. Anyway, when I do feel that way though, for me, I always know it has to do with projects. So like if I'm too into like working on client stuff and I start to feel that death rattle coming, I know I need to start making moves. So I wrote like a ton of stuff for Starvale last time I felt that way, and just making little moves. And I'll be working on that Starvale during streams and things coming up, and you'll be spoiled the story and everything, but that's just gonna be what it is, because I need to use my time to get stuff done. There's so many things I want to do. God, there's so many missiles here. They just need to look okay. As long as they look okay, I'm fine. Yeah, the next Starvale stuff is way more narrative based. Like I have a whole story for it, and it's more like, you know, movie like and all that. It moves. I feel like it's okay right now. It's at a decent place, so I'm fairly confident of, you know, executing that. How do I get the paper look? Nothing too crazy here. It's just building it up in Clip Studio with watercolor brushes, and then just using a lot of traditional looking brushes. But there's no like paper texture on this or anything like that. This is just coming from the brushes themselves. Oh yeah, big shout out to Wigglewood, Riley in the chat for releasing the new short. It's really good. Riley's crushing it with those. It's only a matter of time before something big's gonna happen for Riley. Only a matter of time. It's inevitable. So you said I'll go and subscribe to that Wigglewood YouTube and follow him on Instagram. Everywhere you get Wigglewoods. I was gonna ask, Riley, are you still here? I'm looking in the chat. I think you're still here. If you're still here, Riley, I wanted to ask. Yeah, you are. All right. Has anybody said that like you stole anything yet? I'm not saying I know that you like have any influence, secret influence, but that's what happened to Dan and I a lot when we did Steve, is people would be like, he's copying this comic, and then I'd be like, what the fuck comic is that? And then they'd like send me something, and I'd be like, this is not even fucking close to what we're doing. Has that happened to you yet? That just happens like all the time, I feel like, with that sort of thing. You know, thanks for taking my idea, and you're like, your idea sucked. I didn't do that. Have there be a cameo with that Miss Lasagna series? I know you should. That would be such a funny thing to do. It'd be so hard. For have that fit in that world. I definitely know he could fit in Steve, though. We'll find a place. We'll find a place in Steve. Miss Lasagna with a magic wand. I can imagine that. Oh, yeah. They just think it's a wizard from another wizard thing. Okay. I heard that Akira Yoshida might be doing Fuck You, a basketball manga later on, which would be shocking if true. Thanks, Riley. Her magic wand could be the vibrating Harry Potter broom they banned because of the orgasms. Okay. Yeah, have a good night. All right. This is so stupid. All I did was paint rockets. feel like I need to do something else. Let's try and paint some vegetation. What's going on with that? Oh, I see. You just gotta populate the ground with some vegetation. To get that going. Okay. So stupid. Yeah, there you go. You took my advice just to make shit, and you're 10 pages or so into your comic, doing it all traditionally. Hopefully can form that habit of finishing things. Just need to work out how to write. Yeah, just do it as you go. You know, you'll figure it out. The more you do it, the better you get. It's just the way it goes. If you're into it and you're digging around and you're looking for resources and you're learning and on the go and being like, this didn't work, this did work, blah, 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 and it's going over and over and over, you will get to the other side of it. Just don't let people tell you like, oh, this sucks, you should stop. If anybody ever does that shit, don't listen to them. Because lots of people told me that, and they were all just big old dorks. If you like it, it's working, keep doing it. Get in the habit of finishing things like you're saying, and keep going. What else are you gonna do with your life? Sit and do nothing? Live in paralysis with all the cool ideas and things you want to do still stuck in your head? That's not an option. That's really dumb. absolutely. Even if it is legitimately not great, keep going. That's my whole art career. All right. You know what helps for me with the story stuff is speaking it out loud, like going through it over and over, like the arc of like, how does a character change? How do they start? How do they end? Where do I want this story to go? Sometimes what I'll do, and you might find this helpful, or anybody in here, I'll draw like a page from what I imagine this like peak moment in the middle of the story is, right? And I don't even know like who these characters are. I don't know what this scene is. I don't know what like this huge explosive thing is, but something's happening. It doesn't need to be that, but I'm just giving you an example. And then I'll just leave that there and be like, okay, that happens here. It doesn't mean I keep that. It doesn't mean I use that for anything. It's just like, it like gets me out of my head of thinking linearly, because I can be very linear with my thoughts sometimes when it comes to story. And that's just a way of like breaking it up and being like, oh, look at this stuff. Like, oh yeah, I want the story to end up here. This is really cool and weird. Like, all right, so what's the breadth of this story? Like what could possibly happen? And then just kind of like getting a feel for, you know, some idea. Like if I don't know like how to start and end up in a place like that, or like even like that I would ever end up there anyway, you just kind of have like this seed that like, hey, all right, cool, like that's just a little bit of like a, you know, one-off thing that makes me think of all these other things, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay, and then I start to imagine like how the dots connect, like, oh, this could be this to this and this. And then by the time I'm actively like illustrating that part, it's totally different, and I have to change that whole page, and that page doesn't even exist. But it was enough to get me thinking and get me to a place like that. Like, especially if you feel too like stuck in what you're doing, I find that really helpful. Yeah, visualizing it with that story kind of, you know, the thing I was saying about just having like that initial image to look at and be like, oh, cool. Like, I actually like that. That as an idea, this like story moment that could happen. It also gives me like a sense of what could be like characters later on, like where this story could go, what ultimately happens to like the hero characters that I like. Like I'll write that whole page, by the way. It won't just be like a picture. I'll write like a little narratives for that page, like here's this moment, here's what they say, here's this other character, and then just kind of plan from there. But yeah, it's just a thought. Okay. Okay. I'm coming up on the hour mark now. I feel like this is pretty cool. I don't know. Is this working? The vegetation and stuff. I'm just trying to make it look like a real painting. I mean, I'm gonna have to like do a lot to it to make it look better. But I'm just kind of blocking it in right now. Yeah, what I mean by real painting is like just something that exists. I guess I don't mean like actual paint. I'm just like, is it a fucking thing? Does it? Is this a thing? Did I do a thing? Yes, I did. Hey, Christian. When you finish your artwork, do you merge all the layers? If you don't merge them, does the affect the artwork? Yeah, I merge them all. I gotta merge them all if I'm gonna print them and just make it like one singular thing that can go out. The only way I wouldn't do that is if it were for a specific type of print where they don't merge the layers or something, because it's like a print style thing. All right, we got someplace. We did some rockets. We did the vegetation. What else did we do? Smoke. Yeah, I don't know. It's coming together. All that's really left is doing those other rockets all up here, and then the couple jets up there. And then finishing off like the vegetation down here, I guess. It's such a stupid picture. Hey, that's great to hear, Christian. You had a major breakthrough. That's always the best feeling, when something just clicks. Let me zoom out. You said in a tweet that when it comes to an art career, the best way to go is to try and build a community, streaming, making a Discord, etc. How do you do that when you're a small artist? I mean, good question. I just did it. Honestly, I just started doing it and I was like, hey, do you want to study with me? Do you want to figure this out with me? You know, come join the community. Just reaching out to other artists, just saying like, I'm streaming every day at this time. Come hang out. I'm going to try and become professional. And yeah, if you're looking for somebody to study with, come hang. I did that all the time. How much did you charge for a print of this? Probably about, I don't know. It depends on the size. I have everything up on my imprint page. I mean, that's usually where I just drop prints. That's the easiest way to do it. I could make more money not doing that, but I don't have the setup for like a print and all this. But yeah. All right, I'm gonna pop off here, but I appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging out. This thing's almost done. When it's done, I'm gonna feel so good. All right. Oh boy. Thank you all. Check out I don't know how into comics you are, but that Miss Lasagna series is by Akira Yoshida, is up on Matt and Shane Secret Podcast, and from what I understand talking to the guy, it's gonna go for months. So you can do that. There will be a new challenge on the Discord, by the way. We're just gonna launch that, and it's going to be easy getting back into it. We're gonna do the thing of like the random choice of who gets the paint overs and general kind of talking points, that sort of thing. But we're back. All right, love you all. See you next time, same time, Thursday, 8.